and welcome to India Global with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. And viewers, from the India-Pakistan ceasefire agreement to Trump's upcoming Middle East visit, and of course, UK's immigration crackdown, it's a packed Monday here at India Global. But first, the headlines. India's DGMO shares proof of strikes at Pak air bases, reveals targeting Karachi's Malar Cant, and PM Modi's big address to the nation this evening. Dhaka's interim unionist government banned Hasina's Awami League under contentious anti-terror law. US-China agree to temporarily slash tariffs after US global stocks rise after US-China trade deal. UK PM Starmer unveils tougher immigration rules, pledges to fix broken migration system. And it's the end of an era. Virat Kohli retires from Test cricket after 14 illustrious years. Viewers, the top focus continues to be the India-Pakistan truce deal on this Monday edition of India Global. In the latest, all military bases and systems continue to remain fully operational and are in fact ready to undertake any mission if the need so arises. India has said on Monday, 2 days after it entered into a ceasefire with Pakistan, now even as the neighbouring country violated the understanding just hours later. In fact, addressing a press briefing, Air Marshal A.K. Bharti underlined Operation Sindoor that was launched in retaliation, in fact, to the Pahalgam terror attack, only ensured targeting of terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir or POK. And Islamabad was responsible for any losses incurred. The remarks in the operation that escalated bilateral tensions as it led to strikes and counter-strikes between the two nations came hours before Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a public address, in fact, in the national capital at 8 p.m. this evening. Now, meanwhile, just hours after India's armed forces in a similar briefing released verified footage, in fact, of targeting military operations on Sunday, Pakistan convened a late evening press conference the same evening. It was visibly modelled on India's earlier briefing. However, the event quickly drew international criticism for what analysts are calling a presentation without proof. In fact, Pakistan's response lacked any video evidence, credible imagery, or even official documentation of their claims. Now, many observers, including neutral international media outlets, to be specific here, viewers, have pointed out the glaring absence of substantiating material, prompting growing skepticism over the credibility of Pakistan's narrative. That's not it. In fact, commentators worldwide are now highlighting what they describe as a missed opportunity for transparency as Pakistan claims remain unsupported and unverified. Now, the contrast has left Islamabad facing uncomfortable questions, and rightly so, from the global community that demands clarity and also accountability in matters of military engagement. Now, before we open up the discussion and go to Shiv Arur, who's joining us from J&K, listen in to what the Air Chief Marshal said.
In a measured and calibrated response, we've once again targeted his military installations, which included his SAM sites at Malar Cant. This also included his surveillance radar sites at Lahore and close to Gujranwala.
Now, my colleague Shiv Arur now joins us from J&K's Baramulla. Shiv, if you can hear me, it's been clear that we indeed also hit a military camp near Karachi, which was, a pressure point for Pakistan. Could you explain it to our viewers, the importance of that military camp near Karachi that we hit?
Hugely important that it has now been confirmed and revealed, in fact, at that briefing yesterday and today, that the Indian Air Force did strike a military base, military cantonment rather, in the city of Karachi. It has been specified that it was a surface-to-air missile site, which is basically an air defense weapons site of the Pakistan military in Karachi. Now, obviously, the importance of Karachi is obvious, but let me say it. Karachi was last attacked by India during the 1971 war. Karachi is the commercial and economic nerve center of Pakistan, very much like Mumbai is to India. It's one of Pakistan's largest and most important cities. It drives the entire economy of Pakistan. It's on the coast. It has a huge port, the largest in Pakistan. And therefore, for India to actually strike a military installation, an air defense installation in Karachi, is positively exploding with not just material, but non-material significance as well. Karachi is a city that was primed for targeting by the Indian Navy during Operation Sindoor as well. That was clarified by the Indian Navy yesterday. And therefore, more than just the striking of a military installation, if this entire cycle of tension had escalated further, it looks like the city was primed to be much more damaged than it was with just this one strike that we can confirm now.
Well, thank you so much for putting things into perspective for our viewers there, Shiv. As my colleague Shivarud pointed out, it's not just a strike, but a statement, and a clear one that India has made. Now we open this to two guests that we have. Lieutenant General SVP Singh joins us. He is the former ADG Artillery and Strategic Affairs expert. Brahma Chilani also joins us for more on this story. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us, gentlemen. Lieutenant General Singh, I'd like to come to you first. I mean, how do you assess the strategic messaging behind India's immediate and precise retaliation under Operation Sindoor, sir?
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here with NDTV. Just a little correction, please. I'm Major General, so it's important that I correct my rank. Thank you. Now, the messaging, see, Operation Sindoor is a very good messaging to the world. What is India? What is India's statecraft? Where we stand. It is not for any territorial aggression or occupation of territory. Land is not an issue. It is to eliminate as far as possible the terrorists and terrorism. To that extent, India is taking forward fighting the counter-terrorism. And in this, I feel that India, in doing so in Pakistan, which is the epicenter of terrorism to the world, is fighting this battle or this war on behalf of America, Europe, all these countries who have been subjected to terrorist acts time and again, and the roots of those have been identified to friend Pakistan. So that's a very great message. And how and why we have been able to do this now with Pahalgam, I think that was the igniting issue. The Pahalgam, very tragic issue where so many of our people were killed, was that the gentleman who's across, who's running the country, General Munir, he overextended, he's overarched himself, and the way he addressed the repatriates of Pakistan, it raised the violence within the people and the terrorists who are there, and it has led to this action. But why has he done so? It is not merely the terrorist action. If I have to assess it, it is perhaps a little of a copy from the Hamas, which they did. And second is, what Hamas did was to highlight to the world once again, bring to fore the Palestine issue. Now, Pakistan has been hit by the Article 370 abrogation, and India has made good efforts to get normalcy in Kashmir. And the last of it has been the elections. So Munir and his friends, the government there, wanted to again bring Kashmir to the fore in the international fora. So these are the aims as I would see it. Now, what India has done, how we could be standing on our own feet, the strategic autonomy which we have.
You've underlined a very important point there, General Saab. It's not retribution only for India, but retribution for the world and for the likes of Daniel Pearl, who was in fact abducted from Bahawalpur as we all know, back in 2001. Mr. Chelani, I'd like to come to you now, sir. This is not only not only warfare, but it's also a credibility war, a global credibility war that's been going on between the country. Now, in light of Pakistan's recent press conference lacking evidence and has been also slammed by international media outlets, how does this, in your vision, affect Islamabad's global credibility on the whole?
The problem is that Pakistan has never lacked international credibility. It makes up for the lack of credibility through nuclear blackmail. And in the present case, what happened, according to American media reports, that after India hit the airbase in Rawalpindi, known as Noor Khan Air Base, which is close to the command and control center, in charge of Pakistan's nuclear weapons. The Americans got very worried and they intervened and persuaded Prime Minister Modi to agree to a ceasefire. The thing is that, as we heard from the Indian military officers yesterday, India had the upper hand against Pakistan. India had dominance in the maritime domain. It also achieved a fair degree of air dominance by degrading Pakistan's air defenses and taking out some of its key air bases. And the question that Prime Minister Modi, when he addresses the nation tonight, the question that he needs to address is, why did India abruptly end its military operations 3 days after they were launched? Because normally, when you gain the upper hand in combat, you seek to capitalize on the military momentum and take your military campaign to its logical conclusion. Even though India's mission was not to escalate to a full-fledged war. India's mission was a swift, decisive military campaign. But in 3 days, normally in military history, no country, not even a superpower.
I'll take this to Major General Singh. Major General, how does the military balance deterrence and escalation in these situations?
That's a very good question. And Mr. Chelani also has raised a very valid point.
Yes.
But I would reply this in the manner that, okay, 3 days, 4 days war, but there was a 6-day war, 1967 Arab-Israeli, and they knocked off the hell out of the Arab world at that time. Now, but that be what it is, you see, we had the upper hand, but we also shown the deterrence level, what we can do in those 2 nights or 3 nights. And that knocked out the Pakistani, I would say the will of the nation was on its knees. When it's the will of the nation, it is its leadership cadre. And that is what has mattered. Secondly is, this nation, the will having been shattered is because some of the spine of the terrorists had been hit very badly. And the spine of the Pakistan nation state is the terrorists and the terrorism. So I think we had hit them hard there. Yes, when you are in a military operation, exploitation and to carry it to its ultimate aim to capture whatever it is very truism. But in this case, I think there have been certain other elements of statecraft which have been in play, and we have done what we have done right now, and that it is a pause, and that the DGMO level talks are there, and we have put our own condition very clear. I think if this is not agreed to, then we continue to remain in a state of readiness. As it is, we have exercised and continuing to exercise the non-kinetic measures in abundance. We are fully prepared for that. And the kinetic measures can be undertaken any time.
Mr. Chelani, quickly your take on how can India better leverage international opinion or opinion when Pakistan's narrative actually lacks any supporting evidence? Very quick answer from you, sir.
There's a saying that success has 1,000 fathers, but failure is an orphan. If we had taken Operation Sindoor to its logical conclusion and shown to the world that we had actually humiliated Pakistan's military, the victor's narrative would have prevailed in the world. Today, if you look at major international newspapers, they're saying that this three-day of military hostilities ended in a draw. And the Pakistanis are celebrating it as a victory against India, starting with Prime Minister Sharif. Now, countering that narrative,
Well,
difficult for
Mr.
India.
Chilani, the international media actually is now also questioning Pak's copycat presser last evening that they hold. And there's also a saying which goes, you can actually wake up someone who's sleeping, but not wake up someone who's pretending to sleep. I'll leave this here at the moment, gentlemen, due to paucity of time. We'll be right back after this very short break, viewers. Thank you so much. We'll be right back after this very short break. Bangladesh interim government bans Hasina's Awami League.
Nothing beats a celebration. And at Tesco Mobile, we're ringing in 30 years of Club Card with deals like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Plus, with 25 gigs of data for just $43.99 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £270. Better yet, that price is frozen for the duration of your contract. And you can even bag a £30 Tesco gift card too. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
If your garage looks like this, you need Tougher Man. A leading supplier of shelving for your home or business. Assembly is quick, easy and boltless. Buy one bay from just $59.99, or you can get 3 bays from only $119.99, saving you nearly £60. Plus you get a 5-year Storelex steel guarantee. Order now at tougherman.co.uk.
Whether you're setting up a new nest, starting your own flock, or they just keep on growing, get more time to pay with VeryPay. You can buy now and pay up to 12 months later, and pay no interest, with nothing to pay at checkout. And you can easily keep track of payments in the Very app. More time to pay with VeryPay.
Brain really matters.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global, and now we shift our focus eastwards. In a dramatic turn in Bangladesh's volatile political landscape, viewers, the interim government has now officially banned all activities of the former ruling party, the Awami League we're talking about here. Now, they have done so under the country's anti-terrorism law. Now, the decision announced late Saturday, in fact, follows months of unrest and a deadly uprising that unseated Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus now heads the transitional leadership, mind you, which says the ban will remain in place pending a special tribunal's trial of party leaders, the Awami League leaders, accused in connection with the deaths of hundreds of protesters last year, as claimed by Yunus's interim government. Meanwhile, the Awami League has condemned the move, calling it a strangling of democracy nonetheless and a pogrom against dissenters. Now, the party's leader, ousted Prime Minister Hasina, has been in exile since last August and also faces serious allegations back home. Meanwhile, Bangladesh's other majority party, the BNP under Khaleda Zia, has in fact called for restraint while pressing for elections by December. The UN, meanwhile, has also voiced concern, warning against actions that could indeed jeopardize the country's fragile path back to democracy. Viewers, with thousands demanding justice and the streets still echoing with unrest, as you see on your screens right now, Bangladesh's future now hangs in the balance. To throw more light on this story, we are joined by former diplomat Anil Trigunayak and Bangladesh senior journalist Muqtadir Rashid. Thank you so much for coming on the show, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll come to you first, Mr. Trigunayak. What do you see as the key risks of allowing an unelected interim government to oversee major political reforms? And if I'm correct, sir, this was not even in the mandate of what an interim government is called in Bangladesh.
Well, as you know, that there have been discussions, doubts, and aspersions whether the interim government as it is today is legitimate as per the constitution of Bangladesh. So that is itself in doubt. But at the same time, they are the ruling dispensation. And as you know, that there have been a lot of changes that have been brought about. And Sheikh Hasina was the leader of the Awami League party and has been accused of several crimes that have been committed, which are now being looked into by the special tribunal, as you are saying, the International Crimes Tribunal. So now what the government has done is has invoked the Anti-Terrorism Act, which was, in fact, was initiated by Sheikh Hasina in 2009 only to deal with the 1971 criminals. And then it has come there, and now they say that until and unless that is completed, the activities of the party, because in the act, as you know, that there was no provision for stopping the activity. So therefore, I believe that there's going to be some kind
I'd
of
like to add a question here. I'd like to ask a supporting question here, Ambassador Trigunayak. You know, what impact could this crackdown have on Bangladesh's regional and international relationships, considering its virtual suppression of one of the biggest parties in the country?
Well, I think that this will further destabilize the current situation in the country. There's no doubt about it, because nearly half of the population in the country still supports the Awami League, or at least have some kind of an affiliation.
I'd like to take the same question now to Mr. Rashid, who also joins us for Bangladesh. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me on this Monday edition of India Global. Do you believe that the ban on Awami League or political parties, in fact, strengthens or weakens the very democratic fabric of Bangladesh, sir?
Honestly speaking, I don't think that will really harm or somewhat give any value to the democratic process. Honestly,
see, sir, we've had political opponents, we've had all sorts of minorities, be it religious minorities, women.
Let me explain. The thing is, Awami League, the supporter of Awami League now more united than they were before the 5th August. So that's another part of this. For the Awami League itself, when they talk about the democratic process, it's a very ridiculous, because they never follow the principle of democracy and other things last 15 years. But the way Dr. Yunus-led government banned the party, a political party, that's what I felt very arbitrary. And that should be done after the formal proceedings or the conviction of all the leaders and other things. And you know very well that the process that currently going on, that mostly the prosecutor are tagging the politicians with their affiliation, but not the political party itself. So the government needs to have this kind of thing so that the Awami League itself and its affiliated groups cannot speak up. So there was a big challenge for our Yunus-led government. But the crisis, I don't see in this way. I see it in a different way. This government is a serious crisis of populist support from the people, especially after the top Awami League leader and former president led the country recently through the airport. And then the government find one of the solution. I believe that if you see the mob, what the people visited his residence, they cordoned in the middle of the night, and they said, okay, we want this, we want this. And then all on a sudden we see there is a serious meeting and they come up with this decision. So this is kind of the mob justice is going on in my country, which is unfortunate, because the top BNP leader, Gaishwar Chandra Rai, he said, what if the BNP will be banned like this?
I have a supplementary question there for you, Mr. Rashid. Ambassador Trigunayak, I'm just going to come to you for a quick reply, my last question. But before that, Mr. Rashid, what might be the consequence for civil stability and even democratic reforms in Bangladesh if the elections, if the so-called promised elections are not held by December? The BNP, as far as we know, is also pushing for them. Very quickly, sir. We're running out of time. Very quickly.
I don't think, you cannot avoid Awami League and you cannot bar them for their political rights, for sure. Second thing, by banning Awami League, basically, this government get the huge support from the Jamaat, which was banned by Awami League itself just last August. The 1st August, it was banned, by the Awami League. So they are taking the revenge. And by this, nothing but the rise of Islamic group, especially the Maududis supporter, will have their wings in Bangladesh. And you see, many of the protesters from where the Shahbag, they said, now we have to ban BNP. So it is only party that will chant slogan and they will rule the country. It is by the Jamaat. So I wonder whether,
to the rise
and then
of
there is
more
still,
Islamist organizations.
They have already questioned. Yes, they have already questioned our 1971 war, and they say they don't want to allow us to sing our national anthem. They are doing whatever they want. So it is in a kind of anarchy they want to show, though they want to show the West that they are very democratic, but in particular, when we see in this case, they want
to
bring
very appropriately there, Mr. Rashid, it's a rise of Islamist fundamentalism and all outright anarchy. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. I'm really running out of time. Up next, we in fact have Trump's big Middle East power play. Stay tuned.
What are you so happy about?
I've just made a claim. We could be owed thousands.
My claim group?
Yeah, the cars we bought on finance, well, the lenders could have charged hidden commissions. It's dead simple to claim.
Hey, I had 2 cars before we met.
Go to My Claim Group. You could be owed thousands in hidden commissions from cars you bought on finance since 2007, even if you can't remember the details.
Done.
Simple, eh?
Go to My Claim Group now.
Claims made simple.
It's been a difficult year for our family. We're finally going through my Tom's things. I want to make him proud, and that starts by making sure our son is protected.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance.
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
No problem. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
That's great.
UK residents aged 50 to 80 are guaranteed to be accepted. Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
That money could help with debts or my funeral costs. I'll do it.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free quote today, call our UK team on 0800 158 552 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Don't miss Sharp's half-price spring savings. Get Sharp's bespoke fitted furniture for every room, from living spaces to home offices and bedrooms. Many ranges are now half price, including our must-have Manhattan range. Our exclusive Space Plus system means we won't be beaten on space. Plus, you get our 15-year guarantee for total peace of mind. Refresh your home with Sharps this spring. Book your free home design visit today at sharps.co.uk.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
Welcome back. You're watching India Global. Now shifting our focus to the Middle East, US President Donald Trump is in the area, kicking off the first major foreign trip of his second term with high stakes and even higher expectations, viewers. He'll touch down in Riyadh Tuesday, then head to Doha and Abu Dhabi in a world tour echoing his 2017 debut on the world stage. Remember, Middle East was the first place he visited in his first term around as well. But this time, the world has changed. Two wars rage, one in Ukraine and the other one in Gaza. And Trump is aiming, in fact, to reshape alliances, secure billions in trade, and, of course, revive his image as the deal maker, as he calls himself. From projected portraits and glowing orbs to whispers of a gifted Qatari luxury jet, as the new Air Force One nonetheless, the trip is as much as a spectacle as it has substance in it. Behind closed doors, well, talks on Iran's nuclear future, hostage deals with Hamas, and a controversial push to, in fact, pressure Gulf nations on the oil prices and artificial intelligence investments. One country missing from the itinerary, you guessed it right, Israel. And with Gaza still in crisis, Trump's absence here speaks volumes. In a region on the edge, viewers, in a world watching, what Trump says and he doesn't say may echo far beyond the desert sands. And finally, President Trump is expected to meet U.S. troops in Qatar before finally wrapping up his trip on Friday. For more on this, we are joined by Mahdi Gulum. He's from the ORF in Middle East, and Willem Boyter. He's an independent economic advisor. Thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen. Willem, I hope I got your name pronunciation correct.
That is excellent, thank you.
Yeah, all right. I'll come to you first, Mr. Gulum, with the geopolitical questions. How do you think Trump's visit, would shift Gulf nations' positions on Israel and the Gaza conflict?
I think well, first of all, thank you, Arjun, for having me. I think the positions are likely to remain the same. I think the Abraham Accords definitely was a success for the previous Trump administration. Things are a bit trickier at the moment. Recent reports seem to suggest that a deal with Saudi Arabia on civil nuclear matters will be decoupled from matters like the Abraham Accords or normalization with Israel. So it seems to me that this suggests that the Saudi position at the very least is going to remain the same. Though the world of Trump and the geopolitics can surprise us sometimes.
Over to you, Mr. Boyter. How effective do you think is direct pressure from Trump, being the US president, in influencing oil prices globally, especially now he is going to be in the Middle East? Will we see a huge change in oil prices globally or an impact?
It can have an impact, certainly. Saudi, Qatar, UAE are major players in the oil industry. And Trump will undoubtedly try, in addition to obtaining large amounts of investments in the US by these Middle Eastern countries, will also try to boost oil production so that prices stay lower. And I think as part of a deal, mixing politics and economics, he could well achieve these economic objectives.
All right, I copy that. I have a double-barrel question for you now, Mr. Gulum. The first bit of it, could Trump realistically revive or even expand the Abraham Accords during this trip? And the second one is, how significant actually is Iran's nuclear stance to Saudi Arabia's current regional strategy?
So I think, to answer the first question, I don't think this trip is going to be about the Abraham Accords. There's been no indication as to that. However, I think this trip and the GCC summit that Trump will be attending is likely a sign that the Gulf will have more input into the nuclear deal and perhaps the framework that's being discussed. And I think Trump will have an ear out for hearing out the Gulf states' leaders' views on what that nuclear deal could look like as the talks are underway. So I think between the two, I think it's more about Iran than the Abraham Accords this trip.
Mr. Boyter, coming to you now, could Trump's push for crypto and artificial intelligence deals, as he's been, saying and gravitating towards, rather, does it signal a pivot in U.S. economic diplomacy?
I think the fact that this trip goes to the Middle East only ignores Israel and Europe. He went after his first trip to Saudi. He did go to Israel and Europe. So there is a clear message here that Trump expects economic and the political links with the Middle East to strengthen, and is not particularly concerned about what this will do.
On what you said, Mr. Boiter, right there, sorry to interrupt you, sir. I'd just like to add a supplementary question here. Do Gulf leaders already, do they face some risk in appearing too close to Trump during this volatile time in the region, since he's not going to Israel, as you mentioned?
I'm sorry, there's a disturbing noise in my...
I'll repeat myself, Mr. Boiter. Okay. I was asking you, do Gulf leaders also face any risk if they appear too close to Trump, especially during this volatile time in the region?
No, absolutely. Violence is still everywhere. Right? Apart from Gaza and Hezbollah and the Houthis who have been weakened, there is the Iran issue. And yes, this is not a trip without political risk, but it is a business trip. He is looking for business deals. And politics plays only in the background.
It's a business trip and politics plays only in the background. But with that, Mr. Gulum, I come to you and I ask the big question, actually, which is there on everyone's mind, at least in India, I can vouch for. What ethical and economic implications arise from Trump purportedly accepting a luxury jet as Air Force One, sir? I'll take that question. I see Willem bobbing his head. The question's coming next to you, sir. Please, Mr. Gulum, please.
So I think, if the aircraft is accepted, I think ethically, I think the main discussions are going to revolve around any potential security threats, any potential security threats arising from accepting an aircraft from a foreign nation. However, if that passes through the checks and balances that the US does have, then I think ethically it might be a bit less controversial. However, when it comes to the political reaction domestically that Trump is likely to receive, that's going to be a consideration that he has to make. However, also one important thing to note is that this report.
Mr. Boiter, yes, please.
Yeah,
Mr. Boiter, quickly. I saw you nodding at very quickly, Price. I'm really short on time here.
The domestic political reactions of a $400 million gift to Trump as president, which he, if they donated at the end of his term to the Trump library, he could continue to use, would be politically very damaging. I find it hard to realize, to imagine.
We'll just leave it at that. Mr. Boiter says he finds it hard to imagine a $400 million gift. Thank you so much for taking out the time and joining us here, gentlemen. Now, moving on, but staying with President Donald Trump, he has insisted that Ukraine meet with Russia to discuss ending their 3-year war, despite Russia's reluctance to agree to a ceasefire that the US, Europe, and Ukraine have sought together. Now, this comes after Russian President Vladimir Putin proposed Ukraine to take part in direct talks, in fact, on the 15th of May, which is this week. This came hours after European leaders urged Moscow to agree to a 30-day ceasefire. This next report explains the details, the ins and out, and the fine print. Take a look.
Війну Росії все одно доведеться закінчувати. Вбивства повинні закінчитися. Українські сили готові будуть реагувати дзеркально, щоб це було чесно. Ми неодноразово чули від партнерів, що вони готові посилювати санкції проти Росії.
Ukrainian President Zelensky has publicly challenged Russian President Vladimir Putin to meet him in person for peace talks in Istanbul. The bold invitation came just hours after US President Donald Trump urged Ukraine to accept Putin's offer of direct negotiations. Zelensky has repeatedly said Ukraine is open to talks, but only after ceasefire is in place. Western leaders are rallying behind a 30-day ceasefire proposal set to begin today. Over the weekend, the coalition of the willing, including the United Kingdom, France, Germany and Poland, met in Kiev to push for an end to the fighting. Their message to Putin was firm: agree to an unconditional ceasefire in the air, at sea and on land, or face fresh sanctions targeting Russia's energy and banking sectors. Both Putin and Zelensky have made put their points.
Добрый вечер, уже, наверное, доброй ночи. Всех хочу поприветствовать. Что мы видим? Каковы эти результаты? Киевские власти, вы, собственно говоря, сами это все видите прекрасно.
Я буду в цей четвер, 15 травня, в Туреччині. І очікую на Путіна в Туреччині. Особисто. І сподіваюся, що Путін цього разу не шукатиме причин, чому він щось не може. Ми готові говорити, щоб закінчити війну.
The Russian leader suggested talks could lead to a new truce, framing it as a step towards long-term peace, though skeptics see it as a stalling tactic. It has been more than 3 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Moscow insists the West must stop arming Ukraine before it considers a ceasefire. Kiev demands a halt to hostilities as a precondition for diplomacy. For now, the world watches whether Thursday's proposed meeting in Istanbul marks the start of real negotiations or just another diplomatic standoff remains to be seen. With Rhythm Arcadia, this is NDTV World.
Viewers, in the UK, a defining promise from number 10 in London. Prime Minister Keir Starmer has declared Britain's immigration system broken. That's correct, and he's also vowed to fix it now. In a sweeping reform plan to be unveiled in Parliament, Labour proposes doubling the wait for settlement to 10 years, raising English test standards for all visa applicants, and for the first time, in fact, their adult dependents as well. Fast-track path will remain open, but only for critical roles like nurses, artificial intelligence experts and engineers. Critics, meanwhile, warn this could split families. Supporters say it's long overdue. But with net migration still topping 700,000 viewers, the pressure is on, and the pressure is on Keir Starmer. Labour calls this a clean break from the past. Opponents call it a scramble for control. As the immigration white paper nears release, the one thing is but certain: Britain's migration debate is far from settled. And for more on this story, Sanam Arora, the founder and chairperson of the National Indian Students and Alumni Union, joins us straight from Ground Zero in London. Thank you so much for taking out the time, Sanam, and I hope you're able to hear us well now.
I can, thank you. Hi.
Sanam, my first question to you: does increasing the settlement wait time from 5 to 10 years also risk discouraging skilled migrants from, choosing the UK as a place to settle and work?
I think overall, yes. Any change to the existing, any change that makes things harder is, of course, going to set a precedence that things are not as easy as they used to be. And therefore, those who are the best and the brightest talent will think about what is the best offer to me on the whole. And so certainly that doubling of indefinite leave status will impact many, especially from India. But I do think that overall, in the long scheme of things, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It definitely, however, will deter those who are only coming from an idea of settlement. It'll deter those, which I think is the impact the government wants to have.
Stay with me, Sanam. I'll, in fact, take our viewers to Starmer's bite and what he said before I come to you for the next question. Here it goes.
So as this white paper sets out, every area of the immigration system, work, family and study, will be tightened up so we have more control. Skill requirements raised to degree level. English language requirements across all routes, including for dependents. The time it takes to acquire settled status extended from 5 years to 10. And enforcement tougher than ever, because fair rules must be followed. Now, make no mistake, this plan means migration will fall. That's a promise.
So you heard the man there, Sanam. Very important question that's also being propped up here is how does one balance, in this case, Keir Starmer and the Labours, how will they balance the need for language integration with concerns about family separation?
Look, I think what they're saying ultimately is a fair ask. If you are coming to the United Kingdom, you ought to be able to speak the language and speak it so that you can actually integrate properly with your communities, with the country, and actually contribute more effectively, which is ultimately the angle at which the current Labour government is coming from, is that immigration should work for the UK and therefore contribute to the UK. There is, of course, no doubt concerns around how this will impact, from the point of view of human rights, how this might impact families who may no longer meet the immediate requirement to be able to deliver on those English language requirements. Having said that, there are ways, there are trainings that can be undertaken, but where this is unfair and where this is,
evidence that raising these requirements, in fact, improves economic outcomes for migrants? Are there any studies, or has the Labour doled out any evidence of these? No, they haven't?
I haven't seen evidence being doled out yet. In fact, there are a number of different modelings and statistical scenario forecasts that would have gone into the design of the whole immigration white paper, which we continue to await the details of. I haven't necessarily seen anything immediate that jumps to mind. Said that, I do think that speaking English, writing English, ultimately it's a necessary basic requirement to be able to do many of those jobs better and be able to integrate economically better. But we await details of the statistical models behind those.
A very important variable here also continues to be the care worker recruitment, Sanam. So what impact could ending care worker recruitment from abroad have on the already wide-stretched social care sector in the UK? And we time and again we've heard reports after reports, of how stretched the sector actually is.
I think this is one where the impact is going to be quite significant, quite immediate, and quite worrying, in fact, from the point of view of how will we ensure that the care sector, which, as you correctly said, is already quite overburdened, how are we going to now ensure that from within the current pool of labour that's available, how do we get that right amount and the right quality of skilled labour available to be able to do those very, very technically skilled but also emotionally compassionate jobs, which not everyone has. So that is something that we remain to see. The government's of the view that of the current pool that's available in the UK, that with the appropriate training, the right number can be determined. But I think all sector stakeholders, particularly from the nursing side and on the overall care economy side, have raised massive concerns around this.
Well, Sanam, thank you for joining us here at India Global and sharing your critical insight, which I'm sure will be beneficial to a lot of our viewers. It's time for a break, but we'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
Nothing beats a celebration. And at Tesco Mobile, we're ringing in 30 years of Club Card with deals like the awesome new Samsung Galaxy A56 with 12 gigs of data for just £27.99 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £144. Better yet, that price is frozen for the duration of your contract. And you can even bag a £30 Tesco gift card too. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
If your garage looks like this, you need Tougher Man. A leading supplier of shelving for your home or business. Assembly is quick, easy and boltless. Buy one bay from just $59.99, or you can get 3 bays from only $119.99, saving you nearly £60. Plus you get a 5-year Storelex steel guarantee. Order now at tougherman.co.uk.
Whether you're setting up a new nest, starting your own flock, or they just keep on growing, get more time to pay with VeryPay. You can buy now and pay up to 12 months later, and pay no interest, with nothing to pay at checkout. And you can easily keep track of payments in the Very app. More time to pay with VeryPay.
For such gentle souls, working donkeys in the Middle East lead terribly hard lives. For such trusting animals, donkeys are too often abused and exploited. These sensitive, loyal animals often suffer the cruelest pain. This is the hard, painful life that donkeys in Egypt, the West Bank, Israel and Gaza have to endure. Too often, it's not only a hard life, it is also a short one. But there is something you can do to make their hard lives much easier. Please call Safe Haven for Donkeys on 0800 144 5802 or go online and give a life-saving gift of just £2 a month. Safe Haven for Donkeys is dedicated to transforming lives in the region. Your gift means our mobile vet clinics can provide emergency treatment for injured donkeys. We heal wounds and ensure donkeys aren't suffering. We also work with local communities, helping them to look after and cherish their donkeys. You'll help make sure there's always a place at our sanctuaries for abandoned and abused donkeys who have nowhere else to turn. Please call 0800 144 5802, text SAFE4 to 84902, go online or scan the QR code and give just £2 a month and help change a donkey's life today.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching India Global. The US and China will temporarily lower tariffs on each other's products. This is according to a joint statement released in Geneva in a move to cool trade tensions and, in fact, give the world's two largest economies 3 more months to resolve their differences. The combined 145% US levies on most Chinese imports will be reduced to 30%. Now, this includes the rate tied to fentanyl by the 14th of May. While the 125 Chinese duties, on the other hand, on US goods will drop to 10% for the 90-day window, mind you. The announcement represents a step towards de-escalating a tariff war that has in fact led to an immediate slump in the trade between the two countries. In a possible breakthrough, Hamas has signaled it will release Aiden Alexander. He's a 21-year-old Israeli-American soldier and was captured during October 7, 2023 attacks. Now, this release is reportedly part of a broader truce negotiation channeled through mediators Qatar and the US. For perspective, Alexander is one of the 251 hostages taken during the October 7 attack. His name has resurfaced in recent days. This, as officials suggest, his release is not only possible but imminent. The Israeli Prime Minister, meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu's office has also confirmed that they're examining credible reports of his return. His family, meanwhile, who has waited for over 580 days now, has called it a miracle in motion. According to Israeli officials, meanwhile, 128 hostages still remain in Hamas captivity, with only 21 reportedly still alive. Then, after talks were postponed last week, US and Iran met for the 4th time to discuss Tehran's nuclear program. Top officials met in Oman, with both sides agreeing to meet again. That's right, the roughly 4-hour-long meeting between US envoy Steve Witkoff and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi was described by Washington as encouraging, while Tehran described it as difficult but useful. The meeting comes ahead of US President Donald Trump's high-stakes Middle East visit this week. And viewers, star India batter Virat Kohli left all the fans heartbroken after he announced his retirement from Test cricket hours ago. The 36-year-old batter, who made his Test debut in 2011, played a total of 123 tests, scoring 9,230 runs at an average of over 45 runs a match. Now, this includes 30 centuries and 31 half-centuries, with the highest score of 254 runs. Now, this news came as a double whammy, in fact, for the fans and Indian selectors, as a few days ago, skipper Rohit Sharma also bowed out of the longest format. Now, with the two greats calling time on their Test careers, the selectors will be having a headache while picking a squad for the upcoming 5-match series against England. My colleague Rika joins me for more on this. Headache for selectors and a mood dampener for fans, Rika. For someone like me who's not interested in cricket at all, I mean, my heart is just sinking. Can you please take us to the latest? What are the fans feeling? What are the selectors feeling? and what's happening, and what does this mean for the men in blue going on?
Well, Arjun, whether or not you're interested in cricket, this happens to be one of the biggest news in the world of sport today as we speak. And while everyone is calling it the end of an era, I would call it the end of an aura. Virat Kohli didn't decide to call it quits after having scored a ton or, having walked through a guard of honor, but he decided to write a very quiet message to his 271 million Instagram followers saying that he has been there, he's done it, he has had a splendid time in the middle, and now he feels that it is absolutely the right time to get away from Test cricket. After 14 glorious years, 9,000 plus Test runs, only 770 shy of that coveted 10,000 run club, Virat Kohli feels that his mind and body are not in sync, which is why he is not going to play Test cricket anymore. And you rightly said that India is looking ahead to a series against England, a country where Virat Kohli has done phenomenally well. 2018, at the peak of his Test career, he scored over 500 runs, but his form has gone south since, and perhaps that's been one of the reasons why he decided to quit.
You put that point across really beautifully. Sometimes we talk about end of eras, sometimes it's not about eras, it's just about auras. And on that note, it's a wrap on this Monday edition of India Global. Take care and have a wonderful day.
Whether you're setting up a new nest, starting your own flock, or they just keep on growing, get more time to pay with VeryPay. You can buy now and pay up to 12 months later, and pay no interest, with nothing to pay at checkout. And you can easily keep track of payments in the Very app. More time to pay with VeryPay.
Discover the finest quality made-to-measure window dressings, exclusively online, delivered direct to your door. Shop now for an extra 20% off and free delivery at blindsdirect.co.uk.
Sadly, animal cruelty has reached an appalling high. It's the worst animal rescue emergency in our recent history, and we urgently need your help. The RSPCA is the only charity in England and Wales dedicated to animals of every kind. Without us, those facing serious abuse and neglect would simply not be saved. If you can help us carry on this vital work with a monthly gift, please call or text the number on screen now. Anything you can give will help us answer more calls, rescue more animals in danger, and help provide the urgent medical treatment, food and loving care animals need. I promise we will never give up trying to save every animal we can. But we need your help now, more than ever. Please call 0800 234 6046